Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come into your presence to bless your name for this beautiful day that you have made, for an opportunity to gain wisdom and advance in our businesses. We bless everyone who's here and everyone who's joining us, that will catch something and that it will make a difference in our businesses and in the businesses that we work for. Through your son's name, Jesus Christ, I pray and believe. Amen.
Amen. From your mouth to God's ears. All right, people, please unmute your mics and please welcome with me our very own beloved director, Grace, to take us through our first session of the week.
Thank you very much. Aki, good to see you and long time. I hope you're doing well. Good morning, everyone, and hope you had a nice weekend. My name is Grace Munyirwa, and it's my pleasure to lead the discussion for the next about 30 minutes or so. Something that I'm passionate about that I thought I should ask of you first, even before we go into risk management. If you want to take note of what we are going to discuss today, it's risks, and risk management. So, but before we move, there are two things that I want to engage us in. Number one, I don't want us to be on this call for a year and then we remain the way we are. So something that is critical in my heart would be a question that I ask my staff, but I also ask you. How many streams of income do you have? And how many streams of income have you added this year? There's something magical about streams of income that I don't want us to talk here and talk and be happy and just warm ourselves and then nothing changes. So if you look back at this year and maybe, we're still in Q1. Q1 is coming to an end. How many streams of income have you added? Or what streams of income? If you have added none, what stream of income do you intend to add in Q2 going forward? So the other thing was something that Precious Barbara talked about, Pastor Precious Barbara. If we look back, just express gratitude to your loved one, and let's get that out of the way. Find a way of complimenting them, find a way of appreciating what they do for you and to you each day. So let's talk about risk and risk management. I am asking a question again. What risks does your organization face this Q1 2023? What risks are you aware of that your organization is facing this Q1 2023? You may be aware of them, you may not be aware of them. But believe me, you as a CEO, you need to be aware of the risks that you run. For instance, you may not be paying taxes. If you're not paying taxes, then you know the risk you're running, or you're oblivious of the risks that you're running, and therefore that would be a disaster. If you're caught pants down, flat-footed. What is risk management? Risk management encompasses the identification, analysis, and response to risk factors that form in the life of the business. So it involves identification, analysis, and response, and crafting a response to the risks that form in the life of the business. The risks that a startup has and a risk that a business that is, let's say 5 years have, and one that has 10 years are different. Even one that has, say, 40 years is very different. Perhaps the risk of the 40-year-old business would be how do you do succession planning, and how do you pass on the company to or organization to the next generation. Also, risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, and controlling threats to an organization's capital and earnings. Whatever threatens your capital and earnings has to be controlled and has to be tamed. And how you tame it is by identifying. You cannot tame what you have not identified. Risk management is normally better when we act proactively than reactively. Proactively than reactively. And so when we act reactively, then we have the potential to reduce the possibility of the risk occurring, or at least reducing the impact should that risk happen. The areas around risk could include, but not confined to, financial uncertainty. There can be legal liabilities. There can be strategic management errors, accidents, natural disasters, IT security, and data security issues. Data can be, these days, stolen from you. Your system can be hijacked by ransomware guys who want to be paid before they give you back your logins. Every organization is prone to these risks, and they can literally bring the organization down on its knees. As a CEO, you have to be revising and renewing and seeing which risks you're containing and which risks are emergent. So, risk management can help us avoid huge bills. Plus, if we put up a risk management plan, then it can help us comply with certain issues that can help us really lead our companies to a much better end. Here, I must say that strong corporate governance, again, strong corporate governance principles also help manage risks. Many times on the board, there are people who, or there's a committee in charge of managing, first of all, identifying, mitigating, and managing the risks that the organization is facing. And they will always ask questions that help the organization avoid the risks that it may be prone to. And risk management is beneficial to individuals, businesses, and an organization. I want to pause and ask at this point, what risks do you personally run, you as a person? Do you run, are you aware of the risks that you run? Are you aware of the risks that you are carrying along as you move along through life? So what are the benefits of risk management? There are a couple of them, 4 of them. Number one, risk management aims to create a safe environment for all the staff and customers, that we are aware. If we haven't paid KCCA license, then we are aware that we are putting the employees and customers to risk. Number 2, it increases the stability of the business operations. So we know that today we'll work fully if we are well licensed. If we are not, then we are increasing our risks. Number 3, it provides protection from events that are detrimental to both the company and the environment. Number 4, it protects people and assets. So you know very well what insurance needs you have, and therefore you're able to protect your assets and the company and the people that work for the company. Let me share something here on the screen that may be helpful for us. Yeah, screen. Tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. What this is a risk management matrix. So when we talk about risk, you're really looking at what is the impact and what is the probability. You don't want to get bogged down by every risk that comes up, but then you must have a catalog of the risks that you run. So if you look at the left-hand side, you're looking at the probability from almost certain to rare. What is the chance that lightning will strike your building? That is extremely rare. But what is the chance that KCCA will come to check whether you have a license? That is very, very probable and almost certain. So you're checking that, and the impact, what would be the impact of that from negligible on the left-hand side to catastrophic, where the business is literally brought on its knees. Sometimes your involvement in politics may be an extreme risk that people may avoid your business. So as we look at the risk profiling, then we are looking at what is low risk, what is minimum risk, and what is moderate risk, and what is extreme or high risk and extreme risk. So as CEO, you must always know what is extreme risk this week, what is extreme risk, so that you're not caught flat-footed and then you have no response for the authorities. I hope this is clear to everyone. Hello?
Yes, Director.
It is clear. I'll share this on the group so that you have it and then you're able to look. If you haven't paid salaries for January, that may be an extreme risk right now. And then remember that if the risk never remains the same, something can move from minimum risk to low risk to moderate risk to high risk and then extreme risk. If you haven't paid the landlord and you haven't paid employees for January or December, then it has moved from minimum risk to now extreme risk, where the landlord will close your place and then you'll have no employee coming to work. So in that case, both of those have moved from minimum risk to extreme risk. Okay. So when you're looking at risk management and the risk management strategies, ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one, what can go wrong? Consider the workplace as a whole, but also an individual as a person. You may have no number two. And so in your place, when the person leaves, you're training all over again. That is a risk. So ask yourself what could go wrong. Number two, how will it affect the organization? When you have heard of the term insurance companies use, key man risk. The man with the key, the main person has really gone, and you're the one who is the center of all knowledge. Some organizations, the man who has the passwords to some of the secret places disappears and everyone is stuck, and that is a risk that can change in profile. Number three, what can be done? What can be done to mitigate that? You have an IT problem, you have a backup, and then you have a backup of a backup, so that all these things you have a repository where you can go and retrieve all this information. Then number four, if something happens, how will the organization pay for it? In other words, how shall we be able to pay for the risk that has inevitably happened? We didn't want it to happen, but it has happened, and we were caught pants down. So there are ways you can manage this risk, and I'm going to list them for you so that you run through them, and then I want us to have a more meaningful discussion after I end, and then see the risk that you run. But on the chart, before I actually wrap up, I want you to post what are the risks you actually want to mitigate this week that are apparent in your organization. So how do we, certain basic steps that we have to look at if we are doing a risk management process. Number one, of course, identify the risk. That means that you're defining the process and the outcomes, and you have a risk register. A risk register is something that is very key. You're registering all the risks that you have, and seeing and evaluating where they are running and how they are flowing through. Number two, analysis of the risk. That means you're looking at the likelihood of it happening and the consequences and the probability of that risk happening. You're saying, okay, I am aware, but what is the likelihood and the consequences and the probability of it happening? Number three would be risk prioritizing. You prioritize the risk in terms of magnitude, and then you're asking yourself, what would take me out? What would really kill me if I did? What is risk number one? What is risk number two? What is risk number three? So we've looked at identifying the risk, analysis of the risk. Risk is prioritized, and then 4, solution is implemented. So you look at the risk and you find a solution. That is called risk response planning. You work around the risk and you make sure that you deploy resources to implement the risk, solution to the risk. Number 5, the risk is monitored. You're looking at, has KCCA come? Has URA come? Are they around the corner? Did they send you a warning? Did they send you an email? Have they sent you a third warning or not yet? Now, with the risk register, you're able to monitor all this and plan to track and review. You should review. What you don't review will come and catch you when you're not actually aware. What are some of the things that you can do, that organizations really do in response to the risk? One is risk avoidance, and simply say, you know what, we'll not operate outside Uganda. You know what, we'll only operate in Kampala. You know what, we'll only deal with females. You know what, we'll only deal with short people. You know, we only work with tall people or that kind of thing. You just avoid the risk that is apparent. Number 2, some of the organizations, what they do risk reduction. So you aim to reduce the risk and exposure to your risk, to the risk that is apparent. So you reduce the scope of work that you're going to do, and you're like, no, beyond that, I'm unable to handle. Number 3, there is risk transfer. You transfer the risk to another party, where you say, you know what, to a vendor or to an insurance company. In that way, you're transferring the risk and not holding it. Number 4 is risk retention, where you're like, I'm aware of this risk and I'm ready to face the consequences should the risk really happen. And you're aware and you're okay with it. So a few things, maybe as we end. Jim Collins, in a book, I forget the book, but in one of his books, he talks about risk, and he identifies 3 risks. He calls one death-line risk, that risk that will take you out, will kill you. You should be able to identify it and identify you personally, the risk that you're holding and the risk that the enterprise is holding. Then he has another category he calls asymmetric risk. Asymmetric risk is the risk that has changed profile. It was small, but now it is really big, and it has its profile and shape and form have really changed. And now you have something completely different. Let's say you are not paying VAT in June last year, and right now, what was a bill of 100K has interest, has penalty compounded to it, and it has changed asymmetrically. And now you have a bill on your laps of 18 million. What was 100K now became 18 million. That is an asymmetric risk. Then the third one is uncontrollable risk. That one is like thunder. That one is like floods and that kind of thing. That one you have nothing to do with it, and you'll just wait to face it or pray and bind it, and it never happens. Ladies and gentlemen, let me stop there about risk. Otherwise, we could go on and on. Let me entertain some questions, answers, some subtractions. Thank you very much. Annette Mobiru, I see your hand is up. Back to you, Chairman CD.
Thank you, Director Grace. For those of us who have questions, let's just quickly shoot our hands up. And we can also use the option of chat. Annette Mobiru, maybe we could start with you. Okay. Yes, Annette, please go ahead.
Sorry.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Sorry, I'm in a bit of a noisy place. And I had a question. I think let me just type it in the chat box.
Okay, Director, there's a question. Could that Jim Collins book be How the Mighty Fell?
No, it is Great by Choice. The name has come back.
Okay. All right, Mark, we have answer there. Yes. Director, maybe I would ask.
Chairman, you've fallen off.
Sorry, I didn't realize I'm going to mute. I wanted to ask about the role of insurance in risk, especially to smaller businesses.
That's a good question. So, insurance. In other words, you're passing on the risk. You're doing a risk transfer. You're saying, should guys come and break into my shop, or something happens to the building, the insurance will pay me 100%. Should an employee get an accident at work, then the insurance company will pay it. So you're transferring the risk to the insurance company. But then I also know that as a small company, you're thinking, I get this 9 million and pay the insurance company for a risk that is unlikely to happen. What if I saved this money and held on to it? What would happen? I also know a company that had 10, some people have internal insurance policies, insurance. So they figured that instead of paying the insurance company motor comprehensive insurance policies for 10 cars, they decided to deduct that money and hold it within the company and say, okay, should anything happen to any of these cars, then we will have our own form of insurance policy internally. So they worked around that. They were aware of the risk, but then they worked around it that way. I see some people on the comment section commenting about succession planning. Yes, that is a risk. The owner of the company, you started it 30 years ago, and you're thinking, how do you handle the succession planning thing? Succession planning, maybe I have to talk about this maybe another time, but in short, it is this. In a small business, you must, in fact, my personal view is that if you're running a small business, you must have an exit plan when you're starting it. Are you going to hand it over to your children? Are you going to hand it over to external management? Are you going to sell it? That way, you run your company very well, and you put in place measures to see how you actually run it successfully. But it is what you really want. Nonetheless, it's never too late. You can decide, like you started this to solve your poverty problem. Now you're here and you're wondering, how do I handle this succession planning thing? My children don't seem to be interested in the business, let alone the line of business I'm in. And you could hand it over to a professional manager and they run it for you. Or you could look for a way of selling it off, and then you collect dimes, and then you're just cash rich, and you chew your dimes until you die. You just chew dime until you die. You just say, you know what, this is it. I shall sign out. But succession planning is important because each one of us will die. Just as a joke, I saw recently a meme where some guy said that he doesn't understand why people commit suicide. In any case, we all die. So why are you in a hurry to die when you know we shall all die? So there is no incentive for you to commit suicide if you know that 100% of us die. Someone else talked about IFRIS. IFRIS is a risk, and it's better that we solve it and see a way of solving it. I was fined some good money for IFRIS. I will never forget, but that is it. Debt remains a risk of repossession, especially when you're in arrears. Something about debt is that the bank reserves the right to actually call its debt anytime, even if you're compliant. So that remains a risk. Even if you're compliant, the bank remains and has the right to recall that money without you doing anything. Loss of customers, yes, there must be something you're doing wrong, and you can mitigate it and do something right and rectify that question. Back to you, Chairman.
Yes, Director, there's a joke that you probably live 9 lives. So from your different lives and versions you've lived, what would you say? Can you give us an example of risk that maybe came out of negligence that could have been avoided and that may be compounded, so that we could learn about some of these payments we delay to pay, or the fact some of the monies we first eat before we can make some payments? I don't know if you can give us any particular scenario and example.
Yes, I can. I'll tell you one, I'll tell you two. But in a cheeky way, there's a risk of remaining single. That please, when you're single, that's a risk. Okay. But in 2018, I had debt, and so I came up with a payment plan. And the payment plan was to settle my supplier's debt, which was about 250 million. And I mismanaged that risk. And when I mismanaged that risk, I had a payment plan which I didn't adhere to. I was supposed to pay the guy 20 million per month, and I paid 10, I paid 20 for 2 months, and then I paid 5, and then I paid another 10. And so the guy went and got court brokers, and one good morning on 11th December 2019, our warehouse was raided and everything, literally everything was taken. The risk changed from a linear risk to an asymmetric risk. What they were demanding at that time was about 230 million. What they took was about 510 million in a go. So the risk that you badly manage or you minimize the consequences of, you will pay fully for it without fail or fear or favor. For me, that would be one of the examples of a risk that I didn't manage well. Of course, if you do not have, if you have not renewed your licenses for the businesses you run, that's a potential risk that you run. If all the knowledge is in one person, that's another risk that you run. Certain times we've depended on one key person, and the person has left, and they have left with all the knowledge and experience that they actually have. So you mitigate that by training more people and empowering them and making sure that everyone has a chance to lead and direct. Shareholders, neglecting shareholders and stakeholders, that's a big risk. Please discuss partner risk, shareholders and directors skimming through channels behind your backs. That is evil. That is forgeries. That is an evil person. Just avoid them and break that tie. Get another company to work for, or get another job. Form another company. If someone is going behind your back to change the directors of the shareholding of the company, then for me that is evil straight away. That is the person who can kill you. So just stay away. Form another company. Get 1 million shares or 500K. Go to your RSB and have that company registered, and you can start all over again. But I don't think that it is worth cataloging and monitoring if people are behind your back and running off with business resources, and you have resources for the company, and this person packs the bag and leaves with all the money draining the company. That would be my take on it. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you so much, Director, for ever blessing us. We'd like to close off. Director, let me please hand over back to you to just kind to close us off. But before Director closes off, this is a reminder for everyone on call. We're covering an exciting series, this business garage, sorry. We're right now talking about the basics. We're back to basics. And this very Sunday, we have Director back talking about debt. Please invite people. There's a video on the link we're going to be sharing. Please share that video. Sorry, a video on the group we're going to be sharing. Please share that video as much as possible in your different social circles. Let's have many people tune in on Sunday, learn about the death, and how we can kill this animal called death. Director, you could close us off, please.
Okay, thank you so much for tuning in this morning. I saw we were 71 people. Yes, we are 71. And I believe that it's not an easy thing, but work on reducing your risk. And first of all, by identifying the risk that you actually know. And like Chairman has said, Sunday will be back with death, and we shall see how to wrestle that animal. If you have an interesting story about death, even the mistakes you've made, please share with me your mistakes, and then we'll be able to find solutions to them. Don't die alone. Don't be your own matter. Don't die alone in the movie. We are here to help you and work around you. Even that which you don't know, just share. You may find a slice of information that may be able to help you not have a life of regrets. Otherwise, God bless you. Go have fun while you make money. Don't be a matter. We'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll have an interesting presenter for you by the end of tomorrow. Thank you so much. God bless you. Catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.